And so it is, as people have said here, it's a combination of what can be done better to improve the education system and the schooling. And this is not pointing a finger at teachers who are wrestling with enormous problems. The workforce, a flexible labour market, treating people who are trying to create jobs and offer jobs not as a Marxist would, as exploiters of the workforce and people who are to be harried. The people who try and sell education courses to small businesses on what they need to know about the law market their courses by saying that if you start to employ someone, you become liable for over 40 acts of Parliament, which could be impinging on you. And you need to know them, because if you're running foul of them, things could go wrong. I think, and Sue will disagree with me on this, but to an economist, the minimum wage, particularly for young males, is potentially an enormously evil thing if it keeps them out of work. Society is essentially saying to them, we'd rather you were on the unemployment benefit and idle than that you were in a low-paid job where at least you had the chance to learn work skills, get socialised by older men and that sort of thing. An economist at University of Canterbury at Crampton's just done some regression numbers and published them on his blog site of the degree to which youth unemployment has risen faster than adult unemployment in the latest downturn. And he's found what looks like a very significant statistical effect of many thousands of youth being unemployed now who on the regression relationship wouldn't have been but for that cutting off the bottom rung of the ladder which they need to get into the workforce. There's an enormous amount of other things which are wrong with the job creation entrepreneurial front in New Zealand, and that's a big occupation of the 2025 task force, which has got the unenviable job of trying to recommend to the government what it might do if it really was serious about trying to close the income gap with Australia by 2025. And I'd like to say there that although that sounds materialistic, it's about the income gap, everyone should know and acknowledge and realise that money, resources, income per capita is only useful if it's a means to a good end, a valued end. That's what money does, and wealth. It opens up options, but how well they're used is what determines well-being. So the goal is not materialistic one of greed. The goal is to open up opportunities for people to make the most of their abilities and have the sort of lifestyle they want. If they want to take it out in leisure, well, that's fine. I mean, that's very sensible. That's very rational. But that's a choice which individuals can make for themselves. Finally, I'd like to say that when I read the conference program, I thought it was a bit narrow in this sense that there were comparisons with Australia and the UK on welfare and benefit reform, and OECD as the group. But OECD as the group is very Eurocentric and Anglo-Saxon. Australia, Canada, US. It's got Japan in it, which adds variety. But there weren't any specific sessions here studying the US sort of welfare schemes, and Gareth Morgan mentioned the negative income tax. There's been extensive studies of that sort of system in the US with the DIME, the Denver scheme, and the SIME scheme, that's the Seattle Income Maintenance Experiment schemes. A lot of research done on it. I think we could benefit from that, and no doubt there will another forum. But I'd also mention countries like Hong Kong and Singapore, which are the same as us, English heritage institutions, but they've taken a different tack on arrangements to welfare. Lee Kuan Yew in particular has sort of rejected the idea of the welfare state as it's developed in the OECD countries, including New Zealand from the 1960s, and it is quite a recent phenomenon still. And they've got very different experiences. There's a global survey of values around the world which compares attitudes of people in different countries to things like illegitimacy birth, sort of birth outside marriage or living together outside marriage and all that sort of thing. And this is partly what I said at the start, what sort of values, what sort of society. What comes through that survey is phenomenal differences. Lee Kuan Yew used to talk about Asian values, by which he meant strong family values, willingness to save, determination to. The current savings rate in Singapore is about 50% of GDP, which is unbelievable, and hard work and belief in education. And it's very annoying to see that Singapore's total government spending is 17% of GDP, much less than our spending on welfare alone. And their jolly kids coming out of school are scoring higher than our kids for cognitive skills. Well, isn't that frustrating? So I think now there's no way, I mean, people are absolutely right. There's a great fear amongst some people in this room that we look overseas and just adopt these things from overseas without considering whether they're really appropriate and suitable for what we want. Well, that's complete madness. None of us, if we think about it, would want that. So we look overseas to learn, see what they're doing, see if they're getting different results, and then think about it. And that's where I'll end, I think, because I think that's what this forum is about, is just putting up ideas and floating them, and we can all pool our own bits of knowledge and experience. So keep up the good work, everyone. Thank you.